Okay, hey there. So for the last reflection of the honors program, I decided instead of writing a blog post, I would do a little video. So wanted to just talk about some of the things that I'd learned during the Commissioner's Challenge. Now this was like a long-term challenge. I think we worked on it for like a couple weeks. And we had to come up with this communication plan. And we had like a case study, and it was like, okay, you have this much amount of money, this is your commissioner, create some sort of like plan on how you would, gain awareness for them. So if my explanation about what the assignment or the communication plan was not clear, you can check out my last blog post, the one that's sitting with Sefcovic, and there's a picture of him there. And if you read that one, you'll have the full communication plan there with all the budgeting and all the explanation of how it's going to be done step for step, all pictures and stuff to help you probably understand what I was trying to say. So basically there was one big thing that me and my group noticed and that we really enjoyed when we were working on the Commissioner's Challenge. And basically it was great because it was a practical challenge. It was a challenge that we actually had to create, make, actually think, figure things out outside the box. But we were given the opportunity basically to put together all the media theories that we'd learned from like first year IBCOM to mid second year IBCOM, and we got to try to put them into like a practical. So we're like, oh, okay, but secondary target audience, and what do we need to do there? And so it was nice to kind of take all that knowledge that we had, not just from the honors program about the Project of Europe, but also from IBCOM itself. And that's, I think, great, because that was one of my goals when joining the honors program, is that it acts as an extension towards the IBCOM program itself. So when I reflect back on the experiences that I had during the Commissioner's Challenge and the visit to the House of Europe, basically I realized that I learned three things that are very important. The first thing I learned was the difference between a communication pitch that is plan-based and a communication pitch that is content-based. So as my team did a communication pitch that is plan-based. We were like, okay, we're gonna do it. This is the first step, this is the second step, this is the third step, this is how much this step costs, this is how much that step costs. So it was really about like, okay, we're gonna make this campaign. It's gonna start with sitting with Sefcovic, a podcast. This podcast is aimed at those people. We're promoting the podcast through this and that media outlet, and the podcast will promote the Citizens Dialogue, and that's how we end up there. But what we didn't realize was how important content was. So what is going to be in the podcast? How is the podcast going to work? We just thought, oh yeah, it's going to be a podcast where Sefcovic is going to talk with someone, but we didn't put any thought into who that someone was or what the topics were going to be touched upon. Knowing that Sefcovic is part of the president of the Energy Union, we should have at least listed down some topics they could talk about. And we didn't think about that. And one of the tips that the communications officer gave us is a good communication pitch is both plan-based and content-based. So for future reference, I know that. The second thing that I learned, I think, was the importance of picking a good target audience and really knowing your target audience. It can make or break a communication pitch. For example, our target audience was the youth, millennials, but we were promoting our podcast through radio channels and TV channels, and that was not necessary. We could have just stuck with social media. We were also doing social media, but we could have just stuck with just social media, or if we really wanted radio channels, we could have picked more, one that resonates better with our target audience. Another thing that I think a tip that was given by one of the communications officers was that when picking kids as a target audience, there are a lot of privacy laws on pictures being taken of children. It gets very difficult with like the legality of stuff. So that is something that I now know to watch out for in future reference, and that you need to get proper signed paperwork on that, etc. Because that was one of the advice he gave the other team. So yeah, target audience, very important. That's the second thing we learned. Third thing that I think I learned was basically knowing your product well, knowing what you're trying to create the campaign for. What are you selling from that person? Why are you selling that? How are you selling that? And basically, yeah, you're going to concentrate on your primary target audience and you're going to try and sell this product to them, but you have to make sure that you don't annihilate the audience that you already have. So I understood this by the communications officer from the European House had explained to one of the groups that was doing one of the female commissioners, and they decided to do a media campaign targeted towards millennials, and they were going to do a social media campaign where the female commissioner switched with the male commissioner the way they dressed to work and took a photo and posted it on social media, which would have attracted the youth, but it might have alienated the commissioner's, older women fans, and there's like a lot of, it seems a bit, weird, and it could cause a lot of controversy. So really knowing your personality or the product you're selling, knowing why you're selling them, and knowing not to annihilate something else, I think was the third thing that I learned. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about that I thought was really fun was looking at how the different groups, each different group basically came up with their own communication plan and how different it was from each other's. And yeah, it was really interesting to see the different perspectives that everyone took on their own communication pitch. And I think that was a really fun way to end the honors, the part one of the honors program. And yeah, to show our work to the communication officers at the House of Europe. That was really cool, and it was an experience that I think we could have only gotten from this program.